I had a feeling I was going to enjoy this film, but I really, really had no clue just how much. So that tells you right now that I'm super excited to talk about a film that I thought was absolutely hilarious. And that film is Nets Go Wins. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the new film, Nets Go Wins, coming to theaters November 17th. So this sports comedy film really had a lot on paper that had me excited for it. I heard it did very well at TIFF, which it made its world premiere there. It's directed by Taika Waititi, from Jojo Rabbit and Thor Love and Thunder, whether you love that film or not. The aesthetic of that film wasn't so consistent with the previous films, but nonetheless, as it stands, it was hilarious. And especially Jojo Rabbit. I mean, there's just no argument with that one here. But Taika also co-wrote this film as well. That right there, you're like, okay, let's see what this is about. But then you look at the cast here. You have Michael Fassbender, Elizabeth Moss, Will Arnett. So like, okay. Pretty solid cast here. But truly, this film really just hit on all cylinders. First of all, it was just absolutely hilarious. Non-stop laughs. And I mean, the laughs were coming from all different directions, whether it was some of the actions that was kind of happening within the film, the dialogue, the script was just so good. Little skits within the film. I mean, there was just so much within the film that you just couldn't help to get a laugh out of. So let's just put it what it is. The humor, check. But the sports aspect of it as well too. It did tell a very motivating and a story that just had a lot of heart, and it goes into the American Samoan soccer team that had a brutal beating in the FIFA World Cup qualifying match of a 31-0 loss in 2001. And then 10 years later, they tried to do something again, and well, they still aren't good. And thus, that brings in Thomas Rogan, who's played by Michael Fassbender, who, he has a story of his own, but there's an opportunity for him to coach this team, a job no one truly wanted. But beyond this being something that could help the team, it's also sort of a journey that can help him as well. But yes, it does send him to the beautiful island of American Samoa to coach the soccer team. The soccer team that has a lot of heart, maybe not a lot of skill. They're absolutely not losers, but there's a lot that the two of them can learn from each other. When I say the two of them, I mean the coach and the team and the coach. There's definitely a lot of messages between that they can all learn from one another. But first of all, going to the island of Samoa, which is small. All friends and family know everybody. Everybody has multiple jobs. It's very, and whether it was shot in American Samoa proper or Hawaii, which I think it is, because there's definitely some locations that I was like, that looks pretty familiar to me. It was still very beautiful to see the culture on display. And let's call it what it is. There is a lot of Samoans and Polynesian culture in Hawaii. So like, you're still very accurate on that notion, So I definitely very much all the comedy and the story aside was absolutely like always beautiful to see their culture on display. Whether it's the pregame ritual, whether it's just the family dynamics, all of that. I just thought they did a very good job in doing so. And yes, while this is inspired by true events, the story itself, as I mentioned, just has a lot of heart to it. It's definitely encouraging, motivating. It sort of gives you like this perspective about enjoying life more than just the sport. Life is a lot bigger than just loving the sport. And in other cases, I would imagine that folks can relate to this. Like, life is much bigger than just chasing after the idea of winning a game or a sport or a league or a competition, whatnot, but like appreciate the other things, like such as just happiness, being happy. And I think that, you got all those different messages within it. But again, 2001 World Cup qualifiers, the worst defeat ever, 31-0, brutal. So like, setting the table that this is a team that just basically was rock bottom really wasn't the accurate depiction, because while they did lose, everyone still had a lot of heart. So like stuff like that, I just was really buying into in terms of the story. I thought it was just beautiful how they really spun around a sports story that wasn't just about the redemption of the team where they were losers, now they're winners, But yeah, again, with the coach being there, you got 4 weeks until qualifiers, and they had a very simple goal, and that was to score 1 goal, because they had never scored a goal in qualifiers ever. So like, there's a lot of that. And even like the typical sports movie tropes, like motivational speeches, they never landed in this, which was completely hilarious, because I figured, I thought like whether this was the true personality of this coach or not, I thought it was kind of funny to like make fun of sports movies where the motivational speeches were always like the very turning points of the events in the film. So I love the fact that like motivational speeches just never landed, thus this being ultimately hilarious. Taika, as always, makes a cameo. He's a preacher in this, so funny to always see him. But again, when it comes down to the things alike, but such as Taika with his cameo, the mannerisms, just the very just. How do you put this? Like, sometimes it's not obnoxious, but like it's always just like out of the box, like out of the pocket when it comes down to like what his characters are. They're always super exaggerated, but yet hilarious. He does that. There's some other characters that does it as well, but like that's what you get with Taika. But again, good comedy, the script, the dialogue, definitely a lot of references in moments, and a lot of build to some bigger laugh moments, so like the build up to some of these payoffs for the comedic joke, they definitely all work to me. Tons of pop culture references, all of that, and then the final act of the film I thought was very suspenseful. I love the recap that they did. They really did that in a very, very unique and cool way. Something that you typically don't see at the end of a film. You more like see it somewhere within the beginning or somewhere in the end, where you kind of get a recap of everything that kind of happened. But the way they kind of did that, I thought it was really, really cool. Even going over into the credit scenes where you get to see real footage of the team and the coach. And you can almost see like the 1-for-1s for some of the other scenes earlier in the film. Now, something else I thought, which was a really big, like yank at the tie. There's a trans character in this film, and the trans character has just so much heart. And the story with it's her own story about really just self-discovery and ultimately having more heart than anybody on the team and becoming a leader. It's so very, very much heartfelt. And I really love this story of this player. And I loved how like they didn't like bash us over the head, like trans character, all of the different, sort of just typical obstacles that a trans character would endure. But in fact, I thought they made this much more authentic, much more personal, should I say. And it was just about a character who wanted to play on the team, but also really still have some like inner soul searching to do to be very comfortable with herself, to ultimately, again, having and being one of the players on the team with the biggest hearts and a true leader and truly a catalyst to the success of this team. So like I really, really love this character and the arc with this character. I thought they really intertwined this other arc within this film very, very well. But nonetheless, man, this film was just flat out hilarious. Definitely one of my favorite films this year. Totally one you want to check out. Next Goal wins again in theaters November 17th. Folks, get in the comments. Let me know your thoughts about this one once you check it out. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon. I